Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of GlideChat. Today with me is Jessica Wine, VP ServiceNow at OwnBackup. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I am doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I think the last time I saw you was in Vegas, right?
It was in Vegas.
Vegas for knowledge. That was a pretty fun knowledge, but different because we're used to like 20,000, 30,000 people, and it was a little bit less this time, but it was definitely great to get back in person for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. Great to see everybody. Had a great time, and appreciate the partnership while we were there.
How about that party?
That was awesome.
That was pretty nuts. So Jessica, you work at OwnBackup, which has definitely been generating a lot of buzz. I mean, I first ran into OwnBackup where you had some clever marketing at the Knowledge in New York, and a lot of the staff that you brought your team looked like they like work for ServiceNow. And they were at our party there too, and I'm like, is this ServiceNow people? I didn't know what was going on, but. So first of all, I tip my hat to you on that marketing. I love guerrilla marketing. I love disrupting things. But tell us a little bit of what OwnBackup is, because it's definitely got a strong buzz going in the ServiceNow community.
Yeah, we definitely crashed your first party in New York, and I'm glad we did. That I got to meet you. Yeah, so a little bit about OwnBackup. What we are is a data protection platform for companies that have cloud applications. And so what we are seeking to be is really the one-stop shop to make sure that you are protecting your data from a business continuity perspective, that you're able to effectively manage access controls, who sees what, security posture management, amongst many, many other things. But what we want to do is we don't want to just be a point solution. So we got our start in Salesforce, where over the past 7 years, we have accumulated 5,000 customers globally across all segments and industries. But we know IT buyers and CISOs and security professionals, they're not looking for a point solution. They're really looking for someone that they can partner with holistically to manage their end-to-end data security.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Like if kind of the opposite, the other effect of cloud, right? The drawback of not being in the cloud, having infrastructure in your data center is if that server goes or is hacked, you lost your data, right?
Yeah.
And you're responsible for the security of that. You're responsible for the maintenance around that server. But being in the cloud, you're able to say, okay, ServiceNow, Salesforce, you protect my data, you store my data. But the kind of the flip side of that is like, well, now we have all our, now we've pushed all our chips the other way, and we've relied on third party 100%. So to me, it seems like OwnBackup's like hedging your bet a little bit, where it's like, okay, we trust ServiceNow, we trust these cloud providers, but we want to have an insurance just to make sure that our data is backed up somewhere else, just in case something crazy happens. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, I would just say the best way to think about it is there's a pretty big misconception that when you are aligning and partnering with a cloud application provider like ServiceNow or
Yeah.
Salesforce or Microsoft, that they are responsible for protecting your data. And the reality of it is it's actually a shared responsibility model.
Yeah.
And what that means, to your point, is ServiceNow is responsible for keeping the lights on, making sure all of the infrastructure stays up and running. And we always use kind of like an apartment analogy, right? If you think about an apartment or a condo building, the landlord's responsible for the structure, the plumbing, all of that lovely stuff. Like I said, keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
But you are responsible for what you put in your unit or units, right?
Yeah.
And so
not starting a fire in your unit, stuff like that.
Right. So if you started the fire in the unit, you are responsible for
That's true.
making sure that
That's true.
you replace all of the stuff that burnt down.
Yeah.
So the same holds true in this scenario where companies are using cloud applications across the board. You need to be aware that should an integration break down or just a person have some sort of human error,
Yeah.
you're working with on a project and things happen, right? You have to have a way to revert back, and each cloud application provider has a varying degree of like very basic out of the box things that they provide, but I would say every single one of them caveats relying on that as like the sole strategy, because there are many challenges that come along with that, and even down to the fact of even being able to restore should an event happen.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so tell me a little bit about the company. What, like, how long has it been around? And I know you have like a ridiculous amount of Salesforce customers, right? Like, did you say
We do.
like
Yeah.
1,500? What did you say?
No, 5,000. Yeah, we're approaching 5,000. Yeah.
So that proves that the demand is there for this type of service, right? And
Yeah.
I have to assume it's going to be, if it isn't already, the newer type of regulations like ISO 9001, things like that are going to start forcing companies to probably acquire this type of service, just to again ensure the integrity and the security of their data, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's it's not there, it's coming. I can imagine. So
there are various regulations that across the board that companies have to adhere to that do require backup. Obviously, highly regulated industries, right? When we talk about healthcare and protecting PHI, financial services, a big one is public companies. And so when you think about backup, by the way, it sounds very like single threaded, but it serves multiple purposes.
Yeah.
So it obviously gives you your insurance policy. That's the obvious thing. Everyone needs insurance. Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the table stakes-ish piece. The things that may not come to mind are, well, I want to have ownership of my data outside of the vendor and outside of maybe my managed service provider that's working inside of that or managing the platform for me on their own. And then the third thing that is actually extremely prevalent in the ServiceNow ecosystem and almost every conversation that we have is the concept of retaining the backup. So a lot of these regulations require that the backup be stored for a period of 3 to 7 years in immutable copies, especially for public companies. So if you're a public company out there and you are not using a third-party backup, that's something that your auditors may come in and are very likely to have you explore.
With OwnBackup having 5,000 Salesforce customers, and you guys probably have your sights obviously on ServiceNow, and you're making a lot of investments in the space. And how do you get OwnBackup to get to where you are with the Salesforce space? Like, what are the, is it, I know you're doing a ton of community, and you're involved in the community a ton. You're obviously partnering with the right partner, GlideFast. But what do you guys think you have to do is it getting in front of more customers? Is it taking more of the ITSM, like the process side? Like, what do you think is going to help you guys get to that next level?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a multifaceted answer. One, you're right on, making sure that we're aligning the right way with partnerships. And so we have a whole team, an alliances team that's focused on the ServiceNow partnership itself, partnering with ISVs in a particular ecosystem, SIs like GlideFast. But then, it really comes down to trying to decipher where there are high value use cases and making sure that we help the entire ecosystem understand why those are important. And frankly, at the end of the day, It's getting customers into our proof of concept, which we do really at no cost. So it makes it super simple, like no barriers to try it out, and ultimately secure customers in the space so that we have stories to tell. And so we're far down that path. Before we even announced our GA, we have referenceable customers like Deepwatch, who's an MSP, and we'll have a customer story on the website here and probably this week. But those are the types of things. I think the storytelling is really important, and being able to relate to the pain that various folks have. And ServiceNow is a beast. And so we're learning a lot, right? There are so many use cases out there where we can make sure that people can sleep better at night, that they can, that they're not getting a phone call from their CISO. What's going on? Why didn't we address this? And so I just think fundamentally, like, trying to focus on those areas are really, really important. And whether those be workflows, that could be, I think just simple things like that just come out of the box, like CMDB and how important that is. That's where we're spending our time. So like all of our days right now are in front of partners, in front of customers, getting the word out. When we make an announcement, obviously there's a big influx of interest. And out of those 5,000 customers we have with Salesforce, 1,300 of them, and I'm sure there's more, have been identified as being ServiceNow customers. So in our own base, it should be pretty, simple. We just announced GA about 4 weeks ago. And so, the business is ticking up, and obviously we want to convert as much of our existing base as possible. And this also allows us to have many conversations with net new customers as well.
Yeah. And that's what I loved, honestly, about like even meeting some of your leadership, in addition to you at Knowledge. Like a lot of them were just coming with kind of questions like, hey, what have you seen around auditing and data protection? Like just coming up, like, just trying to jumping right into use cases, which, I'm used to be very technical, but not anymore really.
Yeah.
But I love those use cases and best practices. And, so instead of just trying to square peg round hole, it's more of like, hey, where do you work with a lot of ServiceNow customers. Where do you see a need like this? And I was just really excited. I couldn't believe that, like, I haven't seen this out there yet. So you guys definitely hit the ground running, made a big impact day one. But Jessica, thank you for taking the time. How can, if a ServiceNow customer, first of all, ServiceNow customers, it's early on, so I think it's a good time before, I'm not saying it will, but prices may go up one day, as you get closer to that ServiceNow 5,000, Salesforce 5,000 customers there. So how could customers get in touch with you or OwnBackup to maybe look at a demo or get a understanding of how it works?
Yeah, I mean, you can always feel free to reach out to me directly. It's Jessica@OwnBackup.com. We keep it super simple. Look me up on LinkedIn. I don't think there's probably very many Jessica Wines out there, so hopefully I pop up up top. Yeah.
I love the name. I
get so many questions on
my favorite beverage.
Mine too. So it works out. Especially the Italian wines, which I'm sure you also appreciate. But and then obviously you can go to the website ownbackup.com, and we have ServiceNow information on there. There's case studies, some blogs, and you can request a demo directly on the website. But best way, reach out to me and I will get you to the right people. And it is really a great time to get in right now, because we are very customer focused, and outside of prices, we want input on the product, and we take that really seriously. And it's the only way that we've gotten to where we are is by incorporating customer feedback into the product. And I think that's why, and I know you all are very customer centric as well, and I think that's why we're very well aligned as partners. So.
Jessica, thank you for spending some time with me. I'm glad we finally
Thank you. I know.
locked up, but thank you to our listeners out there. Follow us at GlideFast on YouTube, LinkedIn, and make sure you guys are looking up OwnBackup as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.